Pentagon videos of Tic Tacs and congressional testimony of non-human intelligent beings and their crafts, their occupants. Do these take the giggle factor, the chuckle factor out of this topic of UFOs? Maybe a little bit, possibly. Now here's the next big question. Does if in fact we could prove the existence of aliens from space down here on Earth, would that resolve and end the Fermi Paradox? Oh, absolutely. If we could prove aliens from space here on Earth. But here's my proposition. What if all these tic tacs, all these so called UFO reports through time are from Earth? Maybe even they're us. That would leave the Fermi paradox intact. It doesn't say that even if these things we've been seeing and reporting and thinking are space aliens or not from space, that there wouldn't be something out there from space. It's not saying that. So we're going to look at just our precedents of UFO reports, tic tacs, whatever you want to call them, and entertain the idea that maybe they're not from up there, they're from right here. Perhaps in another time, in another dimension, interdimensional beings, maybe from underneath the ocean. What about crop circles? What about ancient astronauts, the gods of old, like the Anunnaki, who claimed they were from above and ruled cities on Earth in Mesopotamia? What is all this stuff? What's it boil down to? Well, buckle up. We're going to dive deep into this strange, bizarre topic here tonight and have an examination of these things. What are these things and what does it really mean? And why are we going into this? Because this is a most curious matter and there's some interesting details that may indeed pin a tail on the donkey as being from Earth. So buckle up, as I said. I want to do some shares. We're going to go into this adventure together here and have a look-see into these phenomenologies. And so we'll start with the Pentagon reports, the Tic Tacs, and congressional testimonies that have been going on for a few years now. We know that Congressman Tim Burchett, who was trying to get to the bottom of this, was actually told to stop. He was told to shut up, to quit looking. But he didn't quit looking. He's now claiming these things are from under the sea, that there's UFO bases in the oceans. And that may be part of the answer, but who is it? Where are they from? So indeed, we see many of these are ocean-oriented, being seen by the USS aircraft carriers, USS Nimitz and the Theodore Roosevelt, back in 2024, 2014, 2015. These major aircraft, they were also showing them, the crew saw them. They were seen on FLIR cameras of pilots. They were detected on radars. Not to mention all the other times that ground people on Earth, just ground civilians and other people saw these things that were on FAA radars. All that's been ignored, so we'll just go ahead and continue to ignore all these reports that tens of thousands of people have seen. And most of them are explainable, absolutely, but some of these things are, shall we say, rather interesting. Rather interesting. And not everything can be readily explained, but now they can be from here. They absolutely could, because the oldest video on my channel is these two videos right here of Amy Eskridge going through a review of UFO technologies, anti-gravity technologies, excuse me, that she was prepared to fund with her new institute she was setting up at the time. And this was a survey of quite a few of those. Unfortunately, she came to me kind of panicky. When I first put these videos up, she was thrilled because it was getting some attention she wanted, but then it got her too much attention. She asked me to take them down, and I did. And it thwarted my channel here because these are the most popular videos I'd put up, the first videos I'd put up, and I thought my channel was about to go viral. And it probably would have had I not taken them down. But Amy passed away under mysterious circumstances. So I re-released them as a combined video here. That's her father talking there. This was a review at Huntsville, Alabama, the Huntsville, Alabama L5 Society, which I founded in 1983, along with Conrad Dannenberg and several other people. I was the founding president of this group. And we had a room full of NASA and industry propulsion experts, engineers, advanced technology people in this room, including the some of the most advanced technology and research, propulsion research people that NASA had and others. And it was all engineers, all serious questions, no laughing, no giggling, talking about these various concepts for anti-gravity. And these concepts have been pursued for over 100 years. So the idea that we might not have anti-gravity is kind of funny because we probably already do. We probably have this. So it could be that the tic tacs we've been seeing, as some have suggested, are our very own. Some have suggested they belong to Lockheed Martin. And that's possible. There's also some discussions here, the TR-3B and other ideas, which are thought to be Lockheed Martin. But there are other concepts. And we did talk about Ning Li in here. I knew Ning Li. Also, I knew Amy Eskridge and Ning Li. Probably knew Ning Li a little better. But anyway, we'll go into that in a minute. But so, I did this video here about Ning Li, about her research, how she had actually said one of the last communications she had put out was, hey, we've got a 12 kW gravity modification beam, anti-gravity beam. And then she went black. Well, she worked for the U.S. Army for several years after she went back. I explained in this video how her funding was contingent on her success and her pursuits. They funded this for some time. This is why I said the U.S. Army has an anti-gravity program. And this video is talking about the dangers of anti-gravity and why maybe Elon Musk isn't accorded to this technology. So warp drive, oh yeah, we got a lot of interesting topics here. If you go through the history of this channel, you're going to find some interesting stuff here. But here's the crazy thing though. If it's all our technology, this tic tacs, if it's the stuff we just developed, how do you explain the long historical precedents for reports of strange lights in the sky, things flying around? We see it in the ancient artworks, particularly religious artworks, talking about things like the baptism of Christ. Then there was this woodcut from Germany that where they claimed there was a big battle in the sky, and I believe it was 1561. And Nuremberg artist and publisher produced a broadsheet called The Dreadful Apparition just above the city on the 14th of April, 14 April, 1561. Huge battle, crashing, blowing up. What was that? Was it just their imaginations? It's hard to say, but see, there's been these reports going way back. Like, and you see them a lot of times with religious literature like this. Something in the sky beaming to, what was this, the head of Mary or somebody? Um, and on Saint Emilius, I don't know, on crazy stuff, some of it. UFO here above, I guess, the Madonna, Mary, strange things here. I mean, just on and on and on. Clouds. Of course, Jesus left in a cloud, right? Interesting. So, what is all that? Why does it go so far back? And again, there's this whole idea that maybe they're interdimensional beings. Where does this come from? It comes from the fact that when people are supposedly, well, the alleged fact that when people are videotaping these, And I think this even maybe occurred with the FLIR Pentagon photographs, that they could just appear, or they could just disappear, or they could be here and then over here, just like a quantum jump, but in macro space, not quantum space. There's been a lot of reports that they could do that, that they could appear one spot, disappear, and be over here. What about the tales of abductions where they just pop in, that little grays just pop into somebody's house in a bedroom? Pop in, pop out. Hmm. A lot of people attribute that to sleep paralysis, and some of it, maybe most of it is sleep paralysis. But what about the people that experience these things without being asleep or being under paralysis? Or what about the submariner that Rex Bear interviewed on the Leak Project, who claimed that didn't he had this problem all the time, except when he was on the submarine in a Faraday cage. Hmm. He still slept there, so why didn't he have sleep paralysis and the same phenomenology there? I asked. What about some of the marks that people talk about? I don't know. You be your own judge. We'll talk about these things maybe at some point later. But, you know, Major Marjorie Taylor Greene and J.D. Vance say they could be demons. This could be a spiritual thing. And there's a lot of Christians who are of the same thought line, that this may be demonic. Well, guess what? They just come out with this, but I was on this topic 3 years ago, not from space. A very similar video to what I'm covering now. UFOs not from space? I asked the question. But back at that time, part of my analogy or my answers was, look, we look in the skies, we don't see Kardashev 2 civilization signs. We don't see any direct signs of Dyson spheres, ring whirls. We're not getting the signals. So how could it be? Of course, since then, the dark forest concept came out, that, well, they'd want to hide and be quiet. And I've added to that with my twist called the dark fortress concept, which claims that they would actually go out to live in the Kuiper belts and the Oort clouds of the star systems to stay hidden, to stay quiet, and develop vast civilizations and the vast resources. There are vast resources hidden deep in the dark recesses of their solar systems. And that would be the best way to hide. And indeed, they may be civilizations just like that. And who knows? If they were to visit a civilization like ours, they would disguise themselves probably as a comet. They'd probably want to visit when the civilization was close to breakout, like about to go into space to start mining, where they could have self-sustaining presence in space. We wouldn't know a civilization close to that now, would we? Hello? It's, of course, 3 Atlas, it's just a rock. Yeah, it's just a rock. Then there's this Cerulean hypothesis. So where would they come from? Still, we haven't answered where they came from. If they are from here, where do they come from? Are they human? Are they something else? Cerulean hypothesis is that some previous civilization developed and went underground, basically. It hid because of a major cataclysm. You look what happened to the dinosaurs. They were wiped out. Maybe a surviving civilization would determine the surface of Earth is a place for fools. It's not a place for a civilization. So maybe they would live under the seas or in the earth and have survived the cataclysm that took out the dinosaurs by doing so. Or it might have been like maybe Atlantis or some other civilization. So maybe the reptiles toward the end. Look, we've developed our technical civilization just a few thousand years, 5,000 years since recorded history started. We don't have that kind of snapshot toward the end of the dinosaur era. How do we know the dinosaurs didn't do something grandiose? How do we know that they didn't come out and or some other at some other point, maybe somebody dinosaurian. How do we know that they didn't have a civilization? How do we know they didn't get advanced? We don't know that for sure. And this is before humans. You know, could this explain UFOs, the reports of reptilians, reptoids, insectoids? Your guess is as good as mine. This is all pure speculation. I have to admit it. We're in the realm of speculation now because we're trying to answer crazy things. What we do know is there's tic tacs. What are they? And there's old historical references to something else, to include in Egyptian petroglyphs, excuse me, Egyptian hieroglyphs and native petroglyphs around the world, things that look like UFOs. So some people say, well, maybe they're time travelers from the Earth's future. Maybe they are us. That we've gone back. There's a lot of talk about this, a lot of stuff in literature, pop culture, making these kind of suggestions. Could they be us from the future? Post-humans or something? Transhumans from the future? I don't know, my friends. But these are questions. But we're going to come to get more definitive. So let's crack it down here a little bit and try to narrow this topic down just a little bit. The War of the Worlds was one of the earliest works of an alien invasion of planet Earth, written by H.G. Wells way back in 1897. Talk about being advanced. Well, he actually wrote between 1895 and 97. That's when it was finally published, I guess, in the United States. The War of the Worlds had the proposition that aliens from Mars invaded Earth, and because they were superior civilization to humanity, we couldn't stand up to them. They were wiping us out. But something funny happened along the way. Even though we couldn't stand up to them, they were wiped out by the smallest, tiniest creatures of Earth, our own bacteria. Now, this was a pretty advanced thought for H.G. Wells back in 1895 when he started writing this book. But he had some precedents to go by. And this was when Europeans went to the rest of the world exploring, the native peoples just died out in America and across Polynesia, the Pacific. The populations had not been exposed. See, in the old world, Africa, Asia, and Europe all cross-pollinated. Diseases from one place spread to the other, so it was a big disease cesspool. But the rest of the world hadn't been exposed to these diseases for thousands of years. And all at once, just a few thousand years, same species, we're not alien species, people were dying in droves, due to those diseases. So, Greg, why are you bringing this up? Because I'm going to suggest that this underwrites the whole idea that they've been here all along. I mean, if you think about this, the old gods of old, the Anunnaki, were supposed to be them who came from above, right? Of course, the Anunnaki actually ruled cities in Mesopotamia. They were actual kings and rulers, and they have written records in cuneiform of their people and their rules, the fact that they ruled, their reigns, whatever you want to call them. But they also referred to humans as dark-haired people. So, supposing they come from some faraway place called Nibiru, which Sitkin said was some other planet. Could have been an island or just another land. And who knows? They might have been Germans or something. Maybe just a little bit taller than the locals. But, things get warped in over time. But so, they may have been from a little bit more advanced civilization, and they had crashed, and maybe they were trying to make their way in what was left of the world, like maybe in Atlantis, kind of like the Cerulean hypothesis. But whether they be gods or space aliens, what do? They bred with humans, which means, if you're going to breed and have offspring, you're the same species. It's the only way it works, especially if the offspring are fertile, which we're said to be. The same thing for demigods of Greece. Oh, they also were the descendants of gods and mortal human beings. But that doesn't end there. Even in the Hebrew Christian faith, the roots of Abrahamic faith, which would include Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, is the stories of the Nephilim, which were the sons of gods, supposedly. Angels, fallen angels, however you want to take them. But they, there's translated in giants, big people of their time, however you want to read it. But these were the descendants of other worlds or what? But they were bred with people. Nobody ever said they were infertile. So obviously, same species. Well, it kind of looks that way. Dangerously like the same species, I might add. So, just something to think about there. The same species. So when you boiled it down to that we know there's something flying around that has been photographed in the uh, naval aviation FLIR cameras called Tic Tacs. We've seen a lot of other reports of oddball things flying around on radars, sighted by pilots. And so it's kind of hard to dismiss this. The Phoenix lights, these things, when you get so many witnesses, when you get it on camera, military grade camera, it's kind of hard to refute that there's something out there. Like I said, maybe ours, but then what about all these historical references to things all the way back through the annals of recorded history and beyond to petroglyphs, rock art? What are these things? Interdimensional beings? Humans from the future? Maybe aliens that crashed here long ago and just melted in? Whatever the case, what we're seeing today, because it's so integrated with our world, is either us or has been here for a long time, probably, because it seemingly fits with the biology of this planet. It's not being wiped out by our diseases. It's not giving us diseases as far as we know. And according to some reports, it interbreeds with us. Even the alien abduction reports that are given of grays coming down claim they're breeding human alien hybrids. Again, suggestive of the same species. In the future, an alternate dimension, an alternate world, another dimension that's parallel to ours. It just cross pollinates. What is it? Whatever the case is, there's a good chance it's from Earth. Whatever the answer is, there's a good chance it's right here. Maybe it's just Lockheed Martin. Whatever the case is, right here is a high probability. And if that is the case, it does not invalidate the Fermi Paradox. So still paradox. It does not say there's not space aliens. Now, here's the other thing. If the technology for anti-gravity and warp drive especially exists, they're not necessarily the same thing. Anti-gravity is being able to overcome gravity. Warp drive is being able to go faster than the speed of light. A little bit different. But if those kind of technologies exist, and they could, with zero-point energy technologies, it could exist, then the whole universe is just a snap away. We could have people from other places and other worlds and times come in and out, but would they, given the biological challenges of bacteria and such, that even a species separated by a few thousand years would be decimated by bacteria from their brothers and sisters that have been separated for some little while? You got to ask. Maybe they're out there. Maybe what we're seeing here is from here. Just a thought to ponder. Not an answer, just thoughts to ponder. What do you think? The Fermi Paradox is a paradox. is strange. And the seeing strange lights in the eyes does not remove the paradox, at least as of yet. Maybe something will come forward that will do so. Anyway, something to ponder. Tell me what you think about it below. I would like to know your thoughts on this because it's still a mystery. And considering all the great mysteries, I will just say, hey, there's a great future in space, at least we hope. So keep looking up. Thank you for watching. And here's a video right here you'll want to watch to think about this stuff, the Dark Fortress video. Check this out, guys. And with that, I'm going to say, Greg out.